Hi, my name is Evangelina Loving, and I am actually going to be doing a book talk on Looking for Alaska by John Green. Sorry if I mess up. I hate talking on video, and I just get really nervous. So the book that I read was Looking for Alaska. I had never read this book before. I had no clue what it was about. They did make a TV show about it. I never watched it. I do want to watch it now because I want to see how much of the book actually goes into the TV show, because most of the time movies, TV shows are a lot different than the actual books that they're supposed to be about. But so the reason why I chose this book, the reason why I chose this book was because I always wanted to read it, and I wasn't expecting because when I usually read books, I don't really expect it's gonna be this amazing story, it's gonna be like this amazing thing. I wasn't expecting any of that. When I read this book, I read it in 3 days. This was probably one of my all-time favorite books. I absolutely loved it. It was such an amazing book. So the summary of this book is, in the beginning, this guy named Miles, he transfers to pretty much like this like boarding school in Alabama where his parents pretty much just drop him off and he's just at a new school. Miles then meets he meets about like four-ish friends. And then he meets this girl, Alaska. Alaska is kind of one of the main people in the book. She is a very important character. She's a very complex character. And she is my favorite character in this book. She is so complex that it's just, you keep reading to try to get more to understand her. And then, so there actually is a lot of like very interesting things that do happen in the book, which I don't want to spoil. But the ending of the book is just, it's a lot. It's a lot all at once. It's a lot pretty much from the beginning until the end of Miles meeting Alaska. Like, it's a lot. So, yeah. The reason why I also like this book so much is because it does give a lot of real life issues. Like, it kind of brings light to them, and I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is really good. Like, wow, they're actually kind of talking about real life things that people go through in their lives. Another thing I do love about it is, like I said before, I love how Alaska is she's very carefree and kind of lives every single day until, like, it's her last day. Which, do remember that is very important for this entire book. You will understand if you do read it. One thing I do wish that they kind of did more in the book was, I wish that they would dig more into the character's past and then actually bring it up more in the book so then we can understand exactly why every single character, like, pretty much acts the way that they do, because there is a lot of things that I'm kind of like, oh, well, I wonder why this character does this. And, like, with Alaska, they will bring some of them up and, like, give a lot of reasoning why. But for some of the other characters, like, what's his name? I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's like the Colonel, or like the Colonel or something like that. It's like his nickname. It's Miles' best friend, and also Miles is nicknamed Pudge by the Colonel. So that was a really fun thing. Let's see here. I would give this book a 5 out of 5 just because it did bring it did shed a lot of light on a lot of things that are kind of real life issues. I loved it. I loved that entire book just because it did that so much, and I will say that this book is definitely not, for very young audiences. I would say the age range is probably about maybe, I wouldn't say for 16-year-olds or possibly even 17-year-olds. Maybe if you're like a little bit more grown up as a 17-year-old, then maybe. But I would definitely say 18 to like 25 is probably like the age range for this. Let's see here. this book, it kind of compares to the book Paper Towns, which they also did make a movie about Paper Towns, which Paper Towns wasn't really the same as the book, which was very disappointing. I do wish that, like, sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, so this one is kind of like Paper Towns, where, like, the guy, like, kind of, like, befriends a girl goes, like, kind of, like, distances herself from him, and then, like, yeah, they just kind of, yeah. But long story short, I really did like this book. I think that anyone who's in the age group 17 to, like, 25 would absolutely love this, but there are a lot of real life issues in it, so if you're kind of not prepared for that and don't really know much about real life issues, I would definitely not read it. And maybe just wait a little while longer until you know more about real life issues. And then, yeah. So that's pretty much it. That is my book review on Looking for Alaska by John Green. I absolutely loved it.